Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Shabbos Daf Chav Gimel, or 12 lines from the top. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Sheshes, Ach Senoi Chayev b'ner Chanukah. Even if somebody is a guest in someone else's home, he is Chayev in Ner Chanukah. Because although the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is to place it near the doorway of one's home, nevertheless, even if one is not present in his own home, he's merely a guest, he's an achsenoi, he's still chayiv in Ner Chanukah. Says the Ran, because don't think it's like the mitzvah of mezuzah that requires a bias. If one is merely a guest in somebody else's home, he's not chayiv mitzvah mezuzah. Ner Chanukah is different. Ner Chanukah is a personal obligation. It's a chiv gavra. Therefore, even an achsenoi, a guest in someone else's home, is chayiv in Ner Chanukah. Amar Rav Zeir Meiresh, initially, ki avavina beirav, when I attended the yeshiva and I was away from home, mishatafnu b'priti, I would contribute some coins, and I would partner with my host, mishatafnu b'priti behadu yishpizu with my host. And by doing so, I fulfilled my chiv, my obligation of Ner Chanukah. I had a chelik in his Ner Chanukah. Basa the Nesivi Itza, however, after I married and I attended yeshiva away from home, I said, Hashta vadu leitzrichna. Now, I certainly don't need to be mishtata v'priti. I don't need to partner, become a shutaf with the host. Why? Because the komadliki alai b'goy beisoy, because they light the Ner Chanukah on my behalf. The komadliki alai on my behalf. B'goy beisoy, my wife does it in my home on my behalf as well. Therefore, I'm yoytzei on account of her hadlaka. Continues the Gemara, Amar B'Shomon Levi, Kol hashmonim kulan, all types of oils, yofel l'ner, are good for an air. They produce a nice flame. V'shemen zayis, olive oil, min hamufchar, that's the best. Amar Abaye Meiresh, initially, have a mahader mar, my Rebbe Rabbah, he would pursue a mishcha de shumshmi. He would look to use the oil of sesame oil. And Rashi Tosfos explains that we're speaking about for the Neres Chanukah. So that was his preference. Mishcha de sumsvi. Omar, he said, why do I prefer this type of oil? Omar, haymashach neritfei, it lasts longer. However, given the shama laha, once he heard, given the shama laha, the Rishon Levi, that shemen zayis is preferred, mahadar mishcha de zaysa. From now on, he preferred olive oil, and he said, Omar haitzolel neritfei. The flame of the olive oil is more bright, it's clearer, and therefore it is preferred. All types of oil are suitable to be used in the process of making ink. Olive oil is the best. Rashi explains that the process of making ink was as follows. They used to take a clay schuches, some type of glass, and they would smoke it up with oil smoke until it blackens, and then they would scrape off this black residue and add some more oil into this, and mix it up, and they would use it as an ingredient in the ink making process. So first they would make ashen, they used to use the oil smoke they put it onto the clay schuches, and then when they took off the residue, they used to add oil while they will be magavel, while they mixed this black residue. So Rishon Levi tells us all types of oils are suitable for this process, but shemen zayis is the best. Iboilu, says the Gemara, they ask the question, what does he mean when he says shemen zayis min hamufchar? Which part of the process? Legava, when they mixed it, or le'ashen, or to use the smoke of olive oil to smoke up the glass? So was it in the first phase of the process, or was it when they mixed it in the second phase of the process and they added the oil? In that case, olive oil is preferred. Says the Gemara Tashma, the Tanya of Shmuel Razutra, Kol hashmonim yafin l'diyai, all types of oils are suitable for the ink making process of shemen zayis. Ma'amufchar, shemen zayis is the best. Bein legavel, bein le'ashen, whether to be used for smoking up the glass, and also to add in the gibel when they mixed up this ingredient. Continues the Gemara, Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra Masni Hachi. He learned as follows: Kol hashanim yafin l'diyai. all types of smoke are good for ink, meaning all types of oil smoke are good. V'shemen zayis min hamufchar, and the smoke of olive oil is the best. Amar Afuna, kol asrafen yafin. The idea is to add another ingredient called sraf, some sort of sap. So all types of saps are good, are beneficial for the ink making process. Sraf, ketaf, the sap of this ketaf. This was something used in the keteris making process as well. We learned that we use the shemen hanoitif me'atzei aktaf. So this type of sap was yafa mikun, was the best sap of all of them to be used in the ink making process. So in summary, the Gemara taught us regarding the chiyuv of an achsinoi, a guest. He's meant to be meshtatev b'pruta, to contribute and to take part in and partner in the host Ner Chanukah, if he can't have his own Ner Chanukah. And as the Gemara told us that Rav Zera, well, once he married, he didn't partner with the host Ner Chanukah, because he said, my wife lights Ner Chanukah in my home on my behalf. The Gemara tells us that shemen zayis, olive oil, is the most preferred type of oil to be used for the ner of Shabbos, the ner of Chanukah, since the flame of olive oil is bright. It is tzolil nohire tfei. Continues the Gemara. Omar Avchi bar Asher Marav. What about the brachos of ner Chanukah? Hamadlik ner shel Chanukah tzorich levarach. A bracha is recited when one lights ner Chanukah. V'Rav Yirmiyah Amar, not only if one lights, but even if one merely sees, has a sighting of ner Chanukah, haroya ner shel Chanukah tzorich levarach. Rashi explains, speaking about one who has not yet lit his own ner Chanukah, or Rashi says liyeshiv b'sfina, one who's living in a ship, and he doesn't have the opportunity to light ner Chanukah, so he must make a bracha when he sees a ner Chanukah. The other Rishonim say, the Ran and Mordechai point out that this bracha of roya only pertains to one who has not yet lit and doesn't intend to light a ner Chanukah. But otherwise, if he's going to light his ner Chanukah, he certainly doesn't make a bracha upon seeing somebody else's ner Chanukah. So once again, one who's madlik makes a bracha. One who's roya also makes a bracha. Says the Gemara, okay, so we know they make brachas. How many brachas do they make? Amar Rav Yehuda, Yom Rishon, on the first day of Chanukah, haroya mevarach beis. The roya makes two brachas. Umadlik mevarach gimel. The one who actually lights the menorah, he makes three brachas, because the roya will not make the bracha of hashakir shalom mitzvayis of itzvana lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. He's not actually lighting it, so he omits that bracha and it leaves him only with two brachas. The madlik includes that bracha as well for a total of three. So that's on the first day. Mikan ve'elach. But after the first day, from the second day and on, we omit one, we deduct one of those brachas. If so, madlik mevarach shtayim, the one who lights is left with two brachas. V'roya mevarach achas, but the roya only has one bracha. So on the first day, the madlik makes three brachas, lahadik ner shel Chanukah. He makes the bracha of Shasa Nisim Laviseinu. He makes the bracha of Shechiyanu. The roya omits lahadik ner shel Chanukah, and he only makes Shasa Nisim and Shechiyanu. However, after the first day of Chanukah, they deduct one more bracha, and that leaves the madlik with two and the roya with one. Says the Gemara, which one of those brachas do they omit, starting from the second day of Chanukah onward? Says the Gemara, Zman, they omit the bracha of Shechiyonu v'Kimonu v'Yonu la Zman hazeh. Why? Why is that the one chosen to be omitted? V'nimayt neis. Why don't they omit the bracha of Shasa Nisim Laviseinu instead of Zman? Says the Gemara, neis kol yomi isei, the miracle that carried on throughout the entire Chanukah. The oil that they lit in the Beis HaMikdash, it lasted throughout all 8 days, and therefore the neis took place throughout all the days of Chanukah, and the bracha of Shasa Nisim Laviseinu, on account of the neis, is applicable throughout all the days. However, the bracha of Zman, the bracha of Shechiyonu v'Kimonu v'Yonu la Zman hazeh, explains Rashi, is referring to the beginning, the onset, the commencement of the Zman hazeh, We thank Hashem for allowing us to arrive Lizman Hazeh to the beginning of this period of the 8-day Chanukah period, and therefore only on the first day when we arrive at that Zman we make the bracha. But starting from the second day onward, we omit the bracha of Zman. Okay, says the Gemara, Mai Mevarach. So what exactly is the nusach of the bracha? Says the Gemara, Mevarach asher kitshana b'mitzvayis v'tzvano lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Okay, so that's the first bracha on account of the lighting on the Maisa Hadlaka. Says the Gemara, asher kitshana b'mitzvayis v'tzvano. Hashem, you have commanded us to light ner Chanukah. It's not a mitzvah d'oraisa, it's merely a mitzvah d'rabbanon. Where did Hashem command us? What do we find in the Torah? A basis, a source for Ner Chanukah. Says Gemara Tutarut, Rav Avya Amar, Lo Yisasur. The pasuk says, Lo Yisasur min hadavar asher yagid lecha yamin esmoil. And Torah is telling us we're not meant to stray from the directives of the Chachamim. So this is the basis of all the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, all the obligations that the Chachamim enacted, and therefore it is suitable to make the bracha of Hashem Kitchalam Mitzvayis Vitzivanu. Hashem, you have commanded us to listen to the Chachamim who established this mitzvah in Ner Chanukah. Reb Nachem Yamar from a different pasuk. Sha'al avicha v'yageitcha, ask your father, and he will tell you the elders, and they will direct you. So this is a remez, a source for the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, and certainly the term Vitzivanu is applicable even regarding mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. So in summary, how many brachos are recited by Hadlakas Ner Chanukah? We have 3 brachos. Number 1, Asher Kitshanu Mitzvayis Vitzvanu Lahadlik Ner Chanukah. Why do we say Vitzivanu Hashem? You have commanded us. Because we have 2 sources in the Torah that the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan are based on those psukim. It's either Lo Yisasur, Hashem tells us, don't stray from the words of the Chacham, or the pasuk of Sha'al avicha v'yageitcha zekeinecha v'yamirlach. So this is a source base for mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. And indeed, the term Vitzivanu, Hashem, you have commanded us to listen to the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, is indeed in place. The second bracha, She'asa Nisim Laviseinu, on account of the Nes. And this bracha applies throughout all the 8 days of Chanukah, since the Nes was Kol Yomi Isei, was prevalent throughout all the days. Finally, the bracha of Shechiyonu, V'kiyimana B'gonu Lazman Hazeh, that only applies to the beginning, to Tchilas Hazman, and is only recited on the first day. Now the Madlik, the one who actually lights Ner Chanukah, he recites all the brachas. The Roya, he omits the first bracha of Lahadik Ner Shel Chanukah. Continues the Gemara, Mosif Rav Amram. So you tell us that a bracha is meant to be recited even regarding Ner Chanukah, which is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan? Is that so? A mitzvah d'Rabbanan requires a bracha. We have a brisa which seems to tell us otherwise. Hadmai, if one purchases produce from an Amaretz, an unlearned fellow, and there's an uncertainty, a suffix, whether the Amaretz properly removed the Tumas and Meisers, so the Chachamim obligated one to be mafresh some Tumas and Meisers from this Dmai. It's called Dmai, Damai. What is this? There's a suffix regarding its status. Nevertheless, says the brisa, even prior to removing the Tumas and Meisers, prior to fulfilling the Chiv d'Rabbanan, one can use this item for Erev Ma'arvim Boy. We can use it for the Erev Chatzeros, for Erev Tchumen, Umishtatvim Boy, to make a Shituf Mavois. So the Erev Chatzeros was meant to join together all the dwellers of the courtyard to enable carrying there, and they used some food for that. And the Erev Tchumen was meant to allow one to walk past the limit of 2,000 amos, so by placing food at the end of the Tchum, the end of the 2,000 amos, that allows them to go further. Shituf Mavois was meant to combine all the dwellers of the Mavoi to allow carrying there. So this food may be used for these mitzvahs. And if one eats the mai, he makes the bracha beforehand, the bracha samoitzi, umezamnin alav. And if he eats it, so he can make brachas hazimon. He can bench with the zimun afterwards. And when he goes ahead to remove the tumas and meisers from the dmai, he can do it even aram when he's not dressed, because he doesn't need to make a bracha when he's being mafresh on dmai. Uben hashmashas, he may do it even during ben hashmashas of Shabbos. It's different than ordinary hafresh tumas and meisers, which is not allowed to be done during ben hashmashas. Says the Gemara, "Vi amris kol midrabanan by bracha." If you propose that all mitzvahs drabanan require bracha, hach in our case kikoy aram, when he's undressed, heichim mevarach, how is he going to make a bracha? V'beinan, don't we require one to be dressed? The pasuk tells us, "V'hoya mechanecha kadosh v'leka." One is meant to have his encampment kadosh in state of kedusha, and as Rashi says, the pasuk continues, "V'lo yirah b'cha eras davar." Even regarding davar, words, uttering words of kedusha, may only be said when there's no ever present. So he's not complying with this obligation of Ahoy Mechanecha Kadosh. Evidently, he's not going to make a bracha when he does the afrosha of Tumas Ma'aser from T'mai. So we see that even though it's a chiyuv, but since a chiyuv midrabanan, no bracha is recited. So why by Ner Chanukah is a bracha said? Amar Abaye. Indeed, certainly a bracha is said by a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. T'mai is different. Vadai de devreim by a bracha. Only a chiv d'Rabbanan, which is based on a vadai, on a certainty, it's a definite chiv, a definite mitzvah like Ner Chanukah. There a bracha is said. However, T'mai, which is a suffix de devreim, it's only a chiv on account of a suffix, on account of uncertainty. The Chacham were uncertain whether this produce requires Trumas Hamayis, whether it's tevel or not. The obligated hafrasha, it's only a suffix. Lo yibayi bracha, this doesn't need a bracha. Says the more, is that so? That a suffix doesn't require brachas? For Yom Tov Sheni, what about the second day Yom Tov, which is a suffix de devreim, who ubayi bracha? Chacham established Yom Tov Sheni for concern that we might not know what day of the month it is. So we observe Yom Tov Sheni. Allah suffix based on uncertainty. Nevertheless, we make brachas. Rashi says we make kiddush, just like the first day of Yom Tov. Says more there, it's different. Hasam, kivan de loyla zuzuli bey. Chacham were concerned that if we don't treat Yom Tov Sheni in the same regard, we don't make the brachas like Yom Tov Rishon, perhaps people will be mezalzel. They will take Yom Tov Sheni lightly. They will not regard it with the same degree of respect as Yom Tov Rishon. They'll say, well, it's not Shabbos, it's just Yom Tov, it's not even Yom Tov Rishon, it's Yom Tov Sheni. They'll be mezalzel on it. And therefore the Chachamim established that the brachas on Yom Tov Sheni should be the same as Yom Tov Rishon. So according to Abaye, once again, only a valid devreim, a chiv d'Rabbanan, mitzvah d'Rabbanan, which was established on account of a valid, definite mitzvah like Ner Chanukah, requires a bracha. However, T'mai, which is merely a suffix, no bracha is recited. Therefore, he can be mafresh aram undressed because no bracha is required. Yom Tov Sheni is different because the Chacham is concerned about zilzal. Rava says no, a bracha is always recited even by a suffix de devreim like Yom Tov Sheni. Why then does the Mai not require a bracha? Says Rava Amar, Roi v'am aretz ma'asrehim. Roi, the majority of Am Aretz do indeed separate Tumas and Ma'ases properly. Therefore, T'mai is not really a suffix. It's not really a typical uncertainty. It's less than that. It's merely a stringency, a chumrah. And therefore, a bracha is not applied by a frashers Tumas and Ma'ases on T'mai. So according to Rava, not only does a vadai d'Rabbanan like Ner Chanukah require a bracha, even a suffix like Yom Tov Sheni. T'mai is different because it's not even a suffix, it's merely a chumrah. Continues the Gemara. Amar Afun. Chatzer sheyesh lo shnei psachim. So if there's a courtyard which contains a bayis, which has two doorways out to the courtyard, tzricha shtei neiros. It requires two neiros Chanukah, one for each doorway. Explains Rashi, because we're concerned that people perhaps will think that in this bayis live two families. It contains two households. It's split into two, and therefore it has two doorways. Therefore, the Chacham required two neiros, one for each doorway. And in this manner, you're addressing the chashad, the suspicion of the passerby. Continues the Gemara. Va'amar Rava, lo yamara. This is only provided ela mishtei ruchos, if the two doorways are facing different directions. In that case, a person needs to place a ner Chanukah by each one of the doorways. Havel miroch achas. But if they're both facing in the same direction, lo tzarich, only one ner Chanukah is required. Says more, let's analyze this. My time, what is the reason for this? Why do we require two neighbors on both doorways on account of suspicion that the passerby will think that this bias really contains two households, and therefore, if he merely puts one Ner Chanukah, they're going to say, okay, what about the other family? Where's their Ner Chanukah? So it arouses suspicion, and the people might question, why is the other family not lighting? Says the Gemara, on account of whose chashad are we concerned? Chashad the man. Whose chashad are we trying to address? What type of people? Ilay chashad the alma, the chashad of passerby, of Bnei Yisrael that are coming to Alma from, they're not dwellers of this city. They're visitors from a different city. And when they pass by this home, they'll say, well, there are two doorways, apparently there are two households. So apparently one of the families are not lighting, not fulfilling the obligation. If so, says the Gemara, what difference does it make if the two doorways are facing the same direction or different directions? Even when they're facing the same direction, the same suspicion will be aroused. The person will say, well, the two doorways means the two households. Where is their menorah? So what difference does it make whether it's shtei ruchos or rochachas? If we're trying to address the chashad, the suspicion of his fellow city inhabitants, says the Gemara, afilu mishtei ruchos nami lo yilabay. In that case, even when there are two doorways facing different directions, there's no room for suspicion here. There's no chashad being aroused, because the people who live in this town know that this bias only contains one household, and therefore there's only one Ner Chanukah. So there's no need to address their chashad at all. Even if there are two doorways facing different directions, why is more than one Ner required? Everybody knows that this bias only contains one household. So either way, we can't figure out what is pshat in this halacha. Says certainly the chashad here is the suspicion of the Bnei Masa, his fellow city dwellers. So although they know that this bias only contains one family, one household, however, there's a chiyuv to place two neiros, one by each doorway. Why? Because if the two doorways are facing different directions, we're concerned that v'zimna de machlev behai, that the person will pass by one of the doorways. Sometimes he will pass by one and not the other. They'll pass by one and not pass by the other. And they'll see that this doorway does not contain any Ner Chanukah. And they'll conclude from there. They'll say, you know what? Just like he hasn't lit near this doorway, on the other doorway, there's no menorah present either. Therefore, this will arouse their chashad, the suspicion that this person has not fulfilled his mitzvah to be madlik Ner Chanukah. So once again, the concern is not that somebody will propose that there are many households living in this bias. Certainly not. We're discussing the chashad of his fellow city dwellers who know that this bias only contains one household. Nevertheless, there's a chiyuv to be madlik two neiros in the case where the two doorways face different directions. So if they're facing the same direction, there's no room for suspicion, because the passerby will notice that there's a menorah there. There's a menorah placed near one of the doorways, which is sufficient for the household contained in this bias. However, if the psachim are facing different directions, and the passerby doesn't notice a menorah near one of the doorways, he's not going to bother to go around and check the other one. He'll simply conclude and say, well, this family is not doing their mitzvahs Ner Chanukah. They have not lit any Ner Chanukah near any of the doorways. Points out the Ran that certainly when he's going to be madlik the second Ner, to place it by the second doorway, a bracha will not be said for that hadlaka, because this is not really an integral part of the original, of the primary chiyuv of hadlakas Ner Chanukah. It's merely coming to address chashad and suspicion of passerby. Therefore, bracha is not recited for this hadlaka. Continues the Gemara. Where do we find a precedent for this concept that one is meant to conduct himself in a manner to address suspicion, to preempt chashad? Says the Gemara, indeed, we found it in the Brayso. The Sanya. Omer Shimon. On account of 4 reasons, Omer Torah, the Torah instruct the farmer laniach peah b'soif sadeu, to leave a portion, a corner of his field, to leave it at the end of his harvesting. He doesn't have the prerogative, the choice to leave it in the beginning or in the middle of his harvesting. The Torah says le'sachala pa'asotcha liktzar. You're not meant to conclude your ktsira. Before you finish your ktsira, leave a bit for the yanim, only at the very end of your ktsira. So why is that? Why does he have to leave it strictly at the end of his field? Says Rav Shimon, there are 4 reasons for this. Now we find that several times Rav Shimon expounds on the reasons for Allah is mentioned in the Torah, and here too Rav Shimon will offer 4 reasons for this obligation. Number 1, we play gezel aniyim. Number 2, we play bittul aniyim. Number 3, we play achashad. And finally, mishum basachala. As the Mal will explain, number 1, we play gezel aniyim, on account of stealing from the aniyim. What does this mean? Shalayire balabayis shopni. We're concerned for the following scenario, that the balabayis, the farmer, will have perhaps a relative who's an ani, and he'll prefer giving the payah to him. So he's going to time it accordingly. We're concerned that he shouldn't see Shah Pnei, a time when there are no Aniyim present. This will be a good opportunity for him to turn to his relative, V'yomel Kroive Ani. Harezu Payah, take a look, this is Payah, here. I am designating this as Payah. So to preempt this type of situation, the Torah obligated him to leave at a set point in the field, to leave it as the last portion of his field. This is a standard procedure which will preempt this type of conduct. The Aniyim will know when to expect, they'll anticipate the payah, they'll know it's the last portion in the field, and therefore they will have an equal chance at getting the payah. So that's the first reason, What is the second reason? But bittul aniyim, on account of idling of the Aniyim. What does this mean? Shelo aniyim yoshvim misham, the Aniyim will not have to sit and wait, and sit idle, and observe the balabayis, and wait and see. Achshav maniach balabayis pay. Take a look at now. He's leaving the payah. They won't have a set time for pay. They won't know when to expect the pay. They'll have to sit there and idle, waste their time, and see when the balabayis is leaving his payah. Therefore, the Torah set a standard procedure. Leave it at the end of your field. So this is something which they can anticipate and know and time their schedule accordingly. Continues to go. What is the third reason? Ne'achshad. On account of suspicion. What does this mean? Because if he can choose to leave payah where he wants, so perhaps he'll have left the payah at the beginning or the middle of his field. Now when he gets to the end, the passerby will say, hey, where's this payah? Perhaps he has not really given payah. So the passerby should not say and suggest, a curse should befall this person who has not left over payah for the aniyim. What is the fourth reason? Mishum basachala, on account of the pasuk, which tells us that he's meant to leave pay at the end. Don't conclude your harvesting, leave something at the end. Says Gemara, this is an independent reason. What about the other reasons? Aren't they merely coming to explain this pasuk as well? Atu kulu, are the other reasons suggested? La mishum basachala, aren't they coming merely to expand and explain this pasuk basachala? It's not a fourth reason. It forms the basis of the other explanations. Amar Rav, indeed, this is a fourth reason. What does Rav Shimon mean when he says that one is meant to leave pay at the end because of Batachala? We're concerned about Ramoin, people who try to cheat and try to deprive the Aniyim of their due, of the payah which is instructed, which is contained in the words of Basachala. Torah instructs one to leave payah. Don't conclude your harvesting. There's a chiyuv payah. Now, if a person will be allowed to leave payah where he wants, is he going to pretend that he left it already? Oh, I left my payah in the beginning or the middle. I don't need to leave payah at the end of my field. So he's coming to deprive the aniyim of their share. He won't give payah altogether. Therefore, in order to prevent this situation, one is meant to leave payah strictly at the end of his field. This will ensure that nobody can deprive the aniyim of their due share. Continues the Gemara, Omar Rav Yitzchak, back to Neres Chanukah. Omar Rav Yitzchak bar Radifa Rafuna. Ner sheish lo shtei piyos. So if one has a lamp which was designed in a manner which has 2 places to place a wick, so 2 people can use the same ner. Each one will have his own wick and his own flame. Omar Rav. What about the following situation? Milei ka'arashem, and if one fills a bowl with oil, v'yikif psilos, and he surrounds the rim with many wicks. So can many people use the same ka'ara? Each one will have his own wicklet? It depends. Kafa le'kli, so if he covers it with a kli, and by doing so he separates between the different wicks and different flames. Indeed, many people can use this kli. Many people can light their Ner Chanukah. Each one will have his own psila, since they are separated. They look like they're distinct, independent flames. However, loy kafa alea kli, but if he hadn't covered this bowl with a kli, and he didn't properly separate the psilas, the wicks, one from the other, in this case, all the flames seem to join together and form this large fire, also kimin madura. And if so, even for one person on his own, this is not suitable. Not only can many people use this for their Ner Chanukah, but even one person who chooses to use this entire bowl for himself, it's not kosher for his Ner Chanukah. Why? Says Rashi, because it appears like a madura, like a large fire. And for Chanukah we need Ner Chanukah, a flame. Therefore, this is not kosher. Now the Ran points out that if the psilos are adequately separated one from the other, if they're separated a shear of an etzba, in that case, it's enough separated and they look distinct, and therefore it is kosher. It's not considered to be a medura, and many people can use these psilos that is protruding from this bowl for their Ner Chanukah. So in summary, we learned several halachos regarding Ner Chanukah. Achsanoi, one who is a guest in another person's home, he also is chayev in Ner Chanukah. We learned that shemen zayis, olive oil, is the most preferred to be used. It is min hamufchar. If one merely sees Ner Chanukah, he makes a bracha. We learned that if one has two doorways facing different directions, he's meant to place two Ner Chanukah, one for each doorway. Why? V'pnei hachashat. And finally, a medura, a large flame, is puzzle for Ner Chanukah. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav, pshitali, it is obvious to me what the halacha will be in the following case. Ner beisay v'ner Chanukah. If one has a choice to use his one ner, he only has one ner, and it's Shabbos, it's Friday afternoon, he has a choice: shall I use it for ner beisay, this is the ner Shabbos, or shall I use it for ner Chanukah? Ner beisay adif. Certainly, the ner Shabbos takes precedence. Why? Mishum shalom beisay, on account of shalom bayis, because the ner Shabbos it enhances the peace and harmony in the home, because an illuminated home improves the overall mood, and it prevents people from stumbling over unforeseen items. So therefore, Ner Beisai comes before Ner Chanukah. What about the next choice? Ner Beisai v'Kiddush Hayoim. If he has enough funds to buy either a candle for Ner Shabbos or to use it for wine for Kiddush, here too Ner Beisai Adif. The Ner Shabbos comes first. Why? For the same reason, Mishum Shalom Beisai. Now comes the question. Boy Rava. So he has enough for Ner Shabbos, but he has a little bit of funds left over to buy one of the following items: Ner Chanukah, v'Kiddush Hayom. He can either use it to buy Ner Chanukah or wine for Kiddush. Mao, which way is he meant to go? Kiddush Hayom Adif. Does Kiddush come first because the Tadr, because it's something more frequent that comes every week, and therefore it takes precedence over Ner Chanukah? Or Dilma, perhaps just the opposite. Ner Chanukah Adif. Ner Chanukah takes precedence. Mishum Persuminisa, because Ner Chanukah publicizes the names of Hashem. Basadi Bayad Pashta. After he had the question, he concluded as follows: certainly Ner Chanukah Adif, Mishum Persuminisa. So he's meant to use his money for Ner Chanukah because it contains this element of Persuminisa. It publicizes the names of Chanukah, and therefore it takes precedence over Kiddush Hayom. Ask the Rishonim, how can we say that Ner Chanukah, which is merely a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, takes precedence over Kiddush Hayom, which is a chiv d'Oraisa? Say the Rishonim, the mitzvah of Kiddush, Minat Torah, is not specifically on wine. That is a chiv d'Rabbanan. One could say Kiddush on bread, or perhaps even just recite the words of Kiddush. So the obligation to say Kiddush al Hayayin is a chiv d'Rabbanan. If so, it's equated, it's on the same level as Ner Chanukah. They're both d'Rabbanan. And as we conclude, Ner Chanukah comes first because it has the added element of Presume Nisa. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Huna. Harogel b'ner, one who's accustomed to lighting Ner Shabbos, Ner Chanukah, he is Zoicha having lay Banam Talmid Chacham. He's Zoicha the children Talmid Chacham. Explains Rashi why. Because Ner Shabbos and Chanukah are their Ner Mitzvah, which produce the Torah as the pasuk says, Ner Mitzvah, the Torah So he's Zoicha the children Talmid Chacham. Hazar b'mezuzah, one who is meticulous regarding mitzvahs mezuzah, which is placed on a bias, so he's Zoicha l'dir to a nice home. Hazar b'tzitzis, which is placed on a beged, Zoicha l'talis nar, to a nice garment. Hazar b'kiddush hayoim, he's Zoicha to have lots of wine. Zoicha memalei garbiyayin, to fill containers of wine. Continues the Gemara. Rav Huna have a ruggle. Rav Huna was accustomed to have a cholav v'tani apischa de Rav Abin Nagra. He would pass by the front of the home, in front of the doorway of the home of Rav Abin, the carpenter. Chaza, he noticed, to have a ruggle b'shragituba. They were very elaborate in the fulfillment of the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos, Ner Chanukah. They would have lots of candles burning. Amar, he said, he exclaimed, as a result of this enhanced mitzvah performance, Trei Gavri Ravri Nafkim Yachad, two great Chachamim will be produced from this home. And indeed, Nafkim Inayu, Rav Idi Bar Avin, Rav Chi Bar Avin. They produced two children. One was Rav Chi Bar Avin, one was Rav Idi Bar Avin. There were two Talmid Chachamim that were produced from, that were sons of Rav Avin the carpenter. Continues to go Rav Chizda, have a ruggle. He was accustomed to passing by the Bachal Vatani, a Pischa, the Veidnasha, the Rav Shizvi, from the home of the father-in-law of Shizvi. Chaza, he noticed, to have a ruggle b'shragituva. They too were accustomed to lighting large amounts of candles. So the Farshim speak out that in the first case, they applied this elaborate procedure to both, to Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah, so Zeicha, to two sons Talmid Chacham. In this case, however, they increased their number of candles regarding one of the two mitzvahs. It was either Shabbos or Chanukah. So Rav Chizda said, Omar, as a result of this conduct, Gaber Rabba, Nafik Minach, a great man, will come from this home. And indeed, Nafik Minayu, Rav Shizvi, indeed they produced a son-in-law, Rav Shizvi. Continues the Gemara, Dvisu, the Rav Yosef, Havam Achra Umadakasla. So the wife of Rav Yosef would delay her kindling of Ner Shabbos. The Farshim says she wanted it to be nikar, it should be discernible that it is indeed the Lekav Shabbos, so she delayed very close to Shabbos. Amar Rav Yosef didn't want to admonish her directly. He did it in a roundabout, delicate way. He presented her with a brayso. Tanya, we learned in a brayso. The pasuk says, Lo yomosh amud anan yaiman. So the pillar of the cloud stayed with Klal Yisrael by day, v'amud eish laila, and the pillar of fire stayed with them throughout the night. So Rashi says, why does the pasuk need to repeat Lo yomosh anan yaimam? We already know from a different pasuk that the anan led the way. Apparently the pasuk is teaching us an added chiddush here. Melamed is coming to teach us. Shamud anan mashlim amud eish, that the amud anan would join together with the illumination of the Amud Eish. Why? Because the Amud Eish, which was meant to serve at night, he wouldn't wait until nightfall to come along. He would come earlier. He would be magdim. So at the end of the day, they will both join together. The Amud Ha'ana and the Amud Eish will both illuminating together. The Amud Eish, Mashlam Amud Anan. Similarly, regarding when the pillar of the Amud Anan, the cloud came along at the beginning of the day. It didn't wait until the beginning of the day. It came a bit earlier at the end of the night. And the Amud Eish would join forces together with the Amud Anan that arrived early. And they would both provide illumination together. So we see from here that it is proper not to wait to the last moment. You're meant to come earlier. Here too, he sent to her a message. This was meant as a hint. You meant not to wait to the last moment. You should light your Ner Shabbos a bit earlier. If so, Sarver Lagduma. If so, she figured, let me light it very early. Armala Osabas, the elder, told her no. Tanina, we learned in the Brisa, Ubavad provided Shlo Yagdim. He's not meant to light too early, but Shlo Yachar, nor too late. So we see here that just as one is not meant to delay lighting to the last moment, he's also not meant to light too early in the day, but rather to light near Shabbos in its prescribed proper moment. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rava. The Racham Rabbanan, one who loves Talmidei Chachamim, Rashi says he loves them like a father loves his sons. Indeed, Havu Lei B'nei Rabbanan, he's Zeiche to have sons, Talmidei Chachamim, who indeed he loves, like the love of his father to his sons. The Moikir Rabbanan, one who displays coveted respect towards Talmidei Chachamim, Havu Lei Chazan Basa Rabbanan, he will be Zeiche to have son-in-laws Talmidei Chachamim, and he himself will experience the covet of Torah in his household. The Tacham Rabbanan, one who fears Talmidei Chachamim, he has yira towards them. What is this? Schar hu gufei. Havetzum Rabbanan, he himself will develop into a Talmid Chacham. Why? Explains the Maharal, because yira denotes nullification, bittul. It's bonding to the Talmid Chacham, and therefore, subsequently, he himself will develop into a Talmid Chacham. However, v'lav barachiu, if he's not this type of person, he's not the person that pursues Torah study, so he himself can't become a Talmid Chacham. So how will this schar manifest itself? As the Gemara, at least, mishtaman milei, k'tzum Rabbanan. His words will be accepted and heeded to, just like the words of a Talmid Chacham. Continues the Gemara. V'lei b'shem esreifa. So the Mishnah listed this as one of the oils that are unsuitable to be lit for Shabbos. My shemen esreifa. What is this? Amarabba shemen shel truma shenitma. It is the shemen of truma that became tummy. Why do we call it in this way? Because it's destined to be burnt. There's a mitzvah to burn this. So why can't we use this for Shabbos? It burns well. It maintains a steady flame. Since there's a mitzvah for him to burn this, or concerning perhaps he'll want to hasten the burning process, which is a mitzvah. So go tilt and adjust the lamp. So on concern of that, the Chachamim didn't allow him to use it for Shabbos. Amalei Abaye challenged Rabbah. Elamei if so, that the concern is that he'll be mata, he'll tilt the lamp, which is a malacha on Shabbos. But on Yom Tov, this is not a malacha. But Yom Tov lishtri, if so on Yom Tov, this should be allowed. Should be allowed to use the shemen sreifa in a ner. Alam etanan, if so, why did we learn the Mishnah? Ei madlik b'shemen sreifa b'Yom Tov. Says Rabbah, Gezer Yom Tov atu Shabbos, because if you allow it on Yom Tov, you might come to do it on Shabbos as well. Rav Chizda Amano, l'shamayata lechashina. There's no concern that since it's a mitzvah for him to burn it, he's going to go ahead and hasten the burning process. There's no such concern. So why then does the Mishnah tell us that it's not suitable? Ella hacha, we're speaking about b'Yom Tov. Shechaliyas erev Shabbos askin. We're speaking about Yom Tov fell on an erev Shabbos. So why can't he burn this shemen sreifa on Yom Tov? Because one is not allowed to burn kachim on Yom Tov. One is not allowed to burn truma that became tummy on Yom Tov. We learn so a pasuk later on the Gemara. So this is the halacha in our Mishnah. There's no concern of shemayat on Shabbos. It's a new concern. There's a new problem because he may not burn the shemen sreifa on Yom Tov. So he's speaking about burning it on Yom Tov itself. Says Zumar, how could you say at the beginning of the Mishnah is discussing shemen sreifa on Yom Tov? That's already discussed in the second part of the Mishnah. Since we find in the Sefer, it says, apparently the first part of the Mishnah is not speaking about Yom Tov. So how can you say that the first part of the Mishnah is discussing Yom Tov? That's Gemara, no. The entire Mishnah is discussing Yom Tov. The Sefer is merely coming to explain the Reish. The Sefer is telling us, Ma tam kamar, is giving us the reason. What is the reason for the halacha mentioned in the Reish of the Mishnah? That we can't burn shemen sreifa on Yom Tov. Lefi shein soifim kachim Yom Tov, because one is not allowed to burn kachim on Yom Tov itself. Continues Gemara, Tani Kavas Rav Chizda. We have a brayso in support of Rav Chizda. The brayso says, Kol elu she'amru ei madlikim b'hem Shabbos. All those materials that the Chachamim listed for us as being unsuitable to burn for Shabbos, madlikim b'hem Yom Tov. On Yom Tov it's allowed because there's no concern that it'll go and tip and adjust the unsteady flame. Because on Yom Tov one is allowed to light a flame. Chutz mishemen sreifa, except for this one item of shemen sreifa, lefi shein surfin kachim Yom Tov. That is not allowed on Yom Tov because one is not allowed to burn trumat shmei on Yom Tov. So you see clearly from this brayso that the item of shemen sreifa is a reference to Yom Tov and not to Shabbos. So in summary, the Mishnah tells us we don't burn shemen sreifa. What is it referring to? According to Rabbah, It's referring to having a ner which contains Shem Esreifa, having it lit on Shabbos. One can't do that because since it's a mitzvah, there's a concern of Shemayat. You can't burn on Yom Tov either because of Exer Yom Tov Atu Shabbos. According to Rav Chizda, one may have this lamp burning on Shabbos itself. It's only on Yom Tov that he may not burn the Shem Esreifa because of the halacha of Ein Soifin Kach B'Yom Tov. Perhaps let's take a quick summary of today's blot. We began with several halachas concerning Neres Chanukah. The Gemara told us about an achsanoi, a guest in one's home. He is chayiv in Neres Chanukah. The Gemara told us that Shemen Zayis is the most preferred oil. If one merely sees Neres Chanukah, he makes a bracha. What types of brachas do we make on Neres Chanukah? So there are three brachas. And the first one is Asher Kirchanim Mitzvah Tzvanu Lahadlik. How can we use the term V'tzivanu? Where did Hashem command us on Ner Chanukah, which are mitzvahs Rabbanon? Says the Gemara either from the pasuk V'lo Yisasur or the pasuk of Sha'al Avicha V'yagetcha Zikanecha V'yarmelech, which forms the basis of the mitzvahs Rabbanon. The Torah tells us to listen to the Rabbanon. We add another bracha of Sha'al Sanisim Laviseinu. The Gemara tells us this is recited all throughout Chanukah because of the neis that took place throughout Chanukah. And we say Shechayanu, but this is only on the first day on account of having reached the beginning, the Tchilas Hazman. The Madlik, the one who lights the Ner Chanukah, makes all three brachas. The Uroya, he only makes the second and the third, he doesn't make Lahadik Ner Shel Chanukah. The Gemara proceeded with other halachas of Ner Chanukah. If one has two doorways facing different directions, he places two menorahs, B'nei Achshad. A Medura, something which is a large fire, does not constitute Ner, and therefore it's puzzle for Chanukah. The Gemara gave us a hierarchy, a list. Ner Shabbos comes first because of Shalom Bayis. Then comes Ner Chanukah because of Persum Nisa. And finally, Kiddush Hayom as the third item on the list. The Gemara proceeded with several stories where there was Zeicha to the Talmid Chacham on account of them being meticulous and lighting an elaborate amount of candles in honor of the mitzvah. The Gemara told us if one loves Talmid Chacham, he will have children Talmid Chacham. If one has kavod for Talmid Chacham, he will have son-in-laws Talmid Chacham. If one has fear, he himself will become a Talmid Chacham. The Gemara concluded with the halacha of Shemen Sreifa. Shemen Sreifa is the Shemen Truma that became Tameh. We have a difference of opinion here. According to Rabbah, there is an issa to have it lit on Shabbos because of Shemayat. This on Yom Tov is merely Gzera Atu Shabbos. According to Rav Chizda, on Shabbos it's not a problem. There's no Shemayat here. On Yom Tov, there's a problem. There's an issa having the Shemen Sreifa burning because of the halacha of Ein Soifim Kachim B'Yom Tov.